Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 15. Yat Anudhya Asina Yuktaha Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Kovidaha Tasya Kaha Na Kuryat Katha Ratim Yat Anudhyasina Yuktaha Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Kovidastasya Kona Kuryat Katharatim Yad Anudhyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Kovidastasya Kona Kuryat Katharatim Yad Anudhyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Kovidastasya Kona Kuryat Katharatim Chindanti Kovidastasya Kona Kuryat Katharatim Yad Anudhyasina Yukta Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindanti Kovidastasya Kona Kuryat Katharatim Yat, sorry, continue, read.
Yat Anudhyastasya Yuktaha Karma Granthi Nibandhanam Chindantam Kovidastasya Kona Kuryat Katharatam
Yat, which? Anudhya, remembrance. Asina, sword. Yuktaha, being equipped with. Karma, reactionary work. Granthi, knot. Nibandhanam, internit. Chindanti, cut. Kovidaha, intelligent. Tasya, his. Kaha, who. Na, not. Kuryat, shall do. Katha, messages. Rathim, attention. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: with sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to His message? Purport: the contact of the spiritual spark with material elements creates a knot which must be cut if one wants to be liberated from the actions and reactions of fruitive work. Liberation means freedom from the cycle of reactionary work. This liberation automatically follows for one who constantly remembers the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead. This is because all the activities of the Supreme Lord, His Leela, are transcendental to the modes of the material nature, energy. They are all attractive spiritual activities, and therefore constant association with the spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord gradually spiritualizes the conditioned soul and ultimately severs the knot of material bondage. Liberation from material bondage is therefore a byproduct of devotional service. Attainment of spiritual knowledge is not sufficient to ensure liberation. Such knowledge must be overcoated with devotional service so that ultimately the devotional service alone predominates. Then liberation is made possible. Even the reactionary work of the fruitive workers can lead one to liberation when it is overcoated with devotional service. Karma overcoated with devotional service is called karma yoga. Similarly, empirical knowledge overcoated with devotional service is called jnana yoga. But pure bhakti yoga is independent of such karma and jnana, because it alone can not only endow one with liberation from conditional life, but also award one transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, any sensible man who is above the average man with a poor fund of knowledge must constantly remember the personality of Godhead by hearing about Him, by glorifying Him, by remembering Him, and by worshipping Him always without cessation. That is the perfect way of devotional service. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, who are authorized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach the bhakti cult, rigidly followed this rule and made immense literatures of transcendental science for our benefit. They have chalked out ways for all classes of men in terms of the different castes and orders of life in pursuance of the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam and similar other authoritative scriptures. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasini Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Yadanudhyasina yukta karma granthi nibandhanam chindanti kovidas tasya kona kuryat katharatim. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to His message? In Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, science of God is given. This science of God includes many different topics of God's energies and expansions and manifestations. So we understand about the material energy. So much knowledge is also given. The material energy, what we think as something very elementary, simple thing like acting. I'm sitting here and I want to act and do something. That is basically karma. That's a deep science, how to act. Even acting, action. Karma translates to action, activity. So that also is a very deep science. In Bhagavad Gita it's explained, and much more detail here in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, how we should act. So there it says in Bhagavad Gita that loko ayam karma granthi, yagnathat karmano anyatra loko ayam karma bandhana. When we act in this material world, then karma bandhana, it forms a binding force which makes us want to act more for this material nature. This is explained in detail in Nectar of Devotion of Srila Prabhupada. There in the first chapter, it's explained that, and also in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, that material nature has a quality that if you try to consort with it, if you try to enjoy it, then we'll enjoy, but our consciousness will get covered and we'll develop a desire to enjoy again more so than anyone else. This is the nature of material enjoyment. Kuta, it's called. So every action we do makes us want to do more action and more action. And this is how it works. In the beginning, we all descended in this material world in the position of Brahma. he was very close to transcendence, relatively sattvic, pure. But as in that position, we could have easily liberated, but we didn't. We again acted to try to enjoy more, and so we degraded and we came to this level. So Bhagavad Gita teaches us that the art of action is such that we should not do action for ourselves, because any action we do to try to do sense enjoyment covers the consciousness, and bandhana, a knot is formed to tie the jiva to this material nature. That's called ahankar, and that ahankar increases more and more if we try to enjoy this body or this material world more and more. We understand that plants, their binding is so much that we cannot perceive that they are alive at all. That is very close bondage. Prabhupada explained that people who don't wear clothes, regularly exposing themselves, take birth as trees, and then they'll be exposed more. So, how to act? The art of work, karma, that is given in Bhagavad Gita. And from that we understand that, and here in this first sentence here, the contact of the spiritual spark with material elements creates a knot. If this jiva, soul, has nothing to do with the material world, we don't belong here, we are not from here. And it doesn't make sense how the jiva, this was a question asked by Vidura to Maitreya in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto or 2nd canto, that Vidura had come after renouncing and was directed by Krishna to approach Maitreya to become self-realized and get knowledge. So he asked many questions. One of the questions he asked was that the jiva is spiritual in nature. He is from the spiritual world. He is a part of the spiritual energy. How did it happen that he confused and became part of this material world, thinking that now I'm also adding some purport, that he thinks now that he's Chinese, Hindu, dog, cat, owl, Muslim or Christian. How is it that the jiva, who is eternal servant of Vishnu and having a pure spiritual consciousness, is now thinking he's that? How is it possible? Little mosquito flying around here. How is it he's thinking mosquito, I have to drink the blood? But he's an eternal servant of Krishna. What made him like that? Because spiritual energy is superior. Matter is inferior. Aparamitasthanyam prakatim vidhi me param. Krishna says, jiva is superior to matter. Why are we identifying with matter? In Bhagavad Gita it says that the jiva, why is a spirit soul superior to matter? Yayedam dharyate jagat, because he can manipulate matter. I can take matter and build a house or build something, but matter cannot do anything on its own. So then Maitreya answered that that misidentification of the jiva with matter cannot happen unless Krishna wills it. Krishna does it, otherwise no force can do it. And that is his Maya Shakti. The Maya Shakti covers us to think that. But who will that happen? Who does it happen to? The one who desires it. Who desires to be in Maya? No one. But we do. We desire to enjoy this body in this material world. And that's not possible unless we're in Maya. So the Maya Shakti covers us to cheat us. Okay, enjoy. We'll remove your identification as a soul. So don't worry, you will forget your Krishna servant. Now you can enjoy. Otherwise you cannot enjoy. So the desire was there. And the more we want to enjoy, the more our spiritual nature unmanifests. So this is the nature of this material energy, that it's like something sticky. If you touch something which is sticky, then it'll stick on your hand. If you try to come in contact with matter, it'll stick on you, it'll stay with you. And again, you have to enjoy. And this material body factually is driven by these modes. Actions that we do to enjoy in this world is because of past desires. Therefore, Gita says, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Prakriti is acting and making the animal or the human to do anything material. But that is happening because of our desire from the past. So what happened is that when we desire to enjoy, a knot is formed. Again we desire to enjoy, another knot. Again another knot, a knot, and very tight. And when we become too much bound up, then it becomes very difficult. Actually, here we are saying karma granthi creates a knot, but in the word-to-word translation here, Prabhupada writes, granthi, knot, nibandhanam, interknit. Interknit. Like here, the threads are woven, very strong. So all these knots are bound. And what is bound? Our soul is bound to matter. And the ahankar grows, that knot grows so much. Now, anywhere in Maya, sarva bhutani sammoham, all living entities who are born are in Maya. But Srimad Bhagavatam gives further knowledge that this knot is not so much. It can be removed, but it is a knot. It's difficult. But really when the knot binds, Bhagavatam gives information that when a man and woman come together, which means marriage, now it doesn't mean marriage, but Bhagavatam, when it says that, it means marriage. Now this live-in and all this nonsense. So when pumsastriya mituni bhavam etam, yeah, yeah, okay. So you should know that verse. Pumsastriya mituni bhavam etam tayo hidaya granthi ahu. It says that anyway there's a knot. But as one ISKCON sannyasi said, that when a man and woman come together and unite, marriage, then, as he said, then Maya really starts cooking. That was his expression. Anyway, it means that really when very hard knot comes, this is difficult to break. This knot is very tight. In the purport, it's explained there. Prabhupada explains, well, generally everyone is attached to something. Even sannyasi will get attached to his plate, my plate. I'll travel with my plate or my bag or something. But the binding that occurs between a man and woman is very difficult to break. It's very tight. That one is difficult. And the reason is because the degree of sense enjoyment is more. Generally, if more enjoyment with matter, more binding, more. So that enjoyment is the greatest material enjoyment between a man and woman. So that knot forms in the heart. And previously, one did not know who is that woman, or the woman did not know who's that man. But now it's so tightly bound that it's very hard to break it. So that is the beginning. And again, why is that? Because the jiva has to identify as matter to enjoy matter. Otherwise, how can you do it? Just like Prabhupada explains, to enter the sun planet, you have to become sun, fire. It's full of fire. You have to attain that. So previously, when people did different material actions, they knew reactions will come. So they did, in the Vedas, there's a very large body of knowledge of prayaschit. So they'll go to the Pandits, and then Pandit will explain them that, okay, you do this prayaschit and that, and then they'll atone for that. Just like Indra. Indra killed Vritrasura, that's in 6th canto Bhagavatam. So after that he asked Brahmana that, how can I do prayaschit? Then they told him what to do. So he did that. So people are they had more knowledge. Now people have no knowledge that we have to atone. But that's also not intelligent, because the tendency to sin remains. Even though you do prayaschit, the reaction goes, but the tendency to do the same sin again comes. And then again you'll do it. And this is the question that we see in text 1 of Nectar of Instruction, that Parikshit Maharaj asks Shukadeva Goswami that how can one stop sinning? He says, you do prayaschit. The effect, he said, no, the tendency to sin is there. I want, deeper answer. Yes, the answer is you have to do bhakti, devotional service. When we do devotional service, it slackens the knot. But actually here the word is used as anudhyasina, chindanti, cut. The knot is cut. Sometimes the knot is so tight you can't untie it. You have to cut it. So in the same way here it's given that this knot which is binding us, actually it's creating a lot of pain, because the jiva has certain characteristics, but that characteristics are not exhibited now. Eternality, happiness. So we are disturbed. Material life is disturbance. There is no other way about it. The whole theory, if you understand, that jiva is Satchidanand, but he comes in material world, he's not. Already that's a problem. How can you be happy? Come out of that material consciousness. That has to happen. You had to break the knot. So now how to break the knot? Actually, most of the Vedas don't explain that, because everyone will close the book and go away. We want to enjoy. We came to enjoy. Why are you telling us how to give up? So very less part of the Vedas explain Bhagavad Dharma. Deep explanation how jiva can come to level, back to the spiritual level, and detach from this material world. Vairagya. So this Vairagya, rag means attaching, attached. Vairag, not attached. That also, there are different ways and means. But as we read in Srimad Bhagavatam here a few verses ago, that simply by performing devotional service, one can break this knot. This hard knot which is binding us to this material world, making us misidentify with matter, and by misidentifying, it's impelling us to enjoy without our desire. Impel, kriyamanani. It's making people think, just like someone may think that actually I like this food, I like to do this, we don't know what we like because we are not in our proper consciousness. Actually we like Krishna, but that's not showing. So that it's not, we are not in our proper consciousness. Like a person who's sick, he may say, I want everything to be dark. Some illnesses are there. I don't want to see light, everything should be dark, or I can't eat this food or that food. But that's not the normal state, he is diseased. So similarly, we are diseased. We don't know what we want, we don't know what we like. No one knows anything. First business is to cut the knot, detach from the material energy. Gradually we'll understand our identity. Our identity will begin to be understood from the time of anartha nivritti, in these 9 stages of attaining Krishna Prem. So the fourth stage, 1, 2, 3, fourth stage is anartha nivritti. Just after anartha nivritti, the hint comes of our swarup. And then as we go on, then we understand our identity. It's very elevated, far stage. But now Bhagavatam gives a hint, how to break this knot. This knot, it says here, because just before this verse, it says here with one pointed attention, ekena manasa, one should hear about glorify worship and remember the personality of Godhead. Now this next verse is putting a question, rhetorical question, that just by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this knot is broken. Kona kuryat katharatim. So who will not think of Krishna's Leela? Who will not do that? That's question is asked again and again, many times in Bhagavatam. In 10th canto, in chapter 2, text 1 or 2, there it says also that the actual suffering we are undergoing now, this material suffering, what is the medicine? Bhava aushada shrota manobhirama, the aushada, nivritti tarsher upagiyamana, the glorification of the Supreme Lord. Upagiyamana. Bhava aushada shrota upagiyamana. And then Ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat. Ka uttama shloka, who will not hear? Ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat. Who will not hear about the quality, transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord? Gunanuvadat. Puman virajita vina sapashugnat. Who? Only a butcher. A butcher kill. There the word is translated pashugnat, can mean kill of himself or kill, animal killer. Only a butcher, one who wants to kill himself, or a butcher, other person who has no sense, he's killing other animals, he doesn't know what will be the reaction, what I will suffer. Those are the two butchers. So they will not remember the pastimes. They will not. Otherwise, who will not remember? Because we are suffering, we are in this material world, and we are going through all sort of difficulties. So now a medicine has come, take it. Who will not take it? You're sick, yeah, here's the medicine, take it. Not able to take. That it's a very unfortunate position. So now it says here, simply by remembering the personality of God, because previous verse said with one pointed attention, you should do this. You should glorify the Lord, remember Him, worship Him, and hear about Him. Why? Because this is the effect. Intelligent men cut through the binding of the knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. We'll cut this chain of action-reaction. Action, that's also stopped. How is it stopped? Now we have tendency to sin. Why do we have that? Tendency for sense gratification is there because in a past life I thought of it and did it, and so now I got covered. The knot is bound. You must do it. Like a prisoner, this Prabhupada writes in a purport in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this material world is known as Maithunya Agara. Agara means prison. So Maithunya Agara means, you can say, prison due to sex, because the sex desire impels one to enjoy. But that is what keeping us bound up. In an ordinary jail, we are bound up by chains or bars, but here, this is binding us. And people don't understand that. Here, Shastra is saying this. So, when we say action-reaction, that means that the desire to enjoy and the reaction that comes from it, both are destroyed. I may say that, okay, I don't want anymore to enjoy this material body or material world, because then it will bind me. But that action is there. We are still impelled. So that is broken by devotional service. And there is no other way to do that. Temporarily one may stop it through jnana yoga, but the root remains, the core, because avidya is still there. We don't know our knowledge, relation with Krishna. That relation with Krishna is not established. So when that relation is established, that's a permanent solution. In just few verses away, it will explain how, not actually next verse and the next, how the chain of fruitive reaction is broken by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam constantly, the chain is broken. What is that? Vidyate Hirdaya Granthi. Vidyate Hirdaya Granthi is Chindanti Sarva Sanshaya Kriyanti Chasya Karmani Drishta Eva Atman Ishwari. So a succession comes. We hear Bhagavatam, it removes the tendency of sinning, removes that desire, and then it goes on, and then that stage comes, Chindanti Vidyate Hirdaya Granthi. The knot is broken, and the chain of fruitive reaction is broken. Chain means, what's a chain? One link, another link, another link. So a link is I enjoy, then I desire to enjoy again, and because I enjoy it again, then the desire again to do that sin again comes. So again I do that sin, then again the desire more comes to enjoy. So this is the chain. So that chain is broken. How? By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. By hearing the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Remembering the personality of Godhead. And now how is this happening? That Prabhupada here in the purport says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is spiritual. He is Advaya, absolute. That means that everything in connection with Him is Him. Katha of Krishna is Krishna. And so constantly when we hear Krishna Katha, then we attain Krishna. We become spiritualized. But we cannot do it. That's the problem. Like Parikshit Maharaj sat 7 days, but we are not able. So then we can, okay, cook for Krishna, offer this. Okay, now chant. Now go book distribution. But if we can sit and hear Katha constantly, with ekana manasa, with one attention, then we can do that. So here, in the purport it's explained, liberation automatically follows for one who constantly remembers the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead. This is because activities of the Supreme Lord, His Leela, are transcendental to the modes of material nature. They're not of this world. If we think of them, then we are also not of this world at that second. If you think constantly, then we are constantly not in this world. They are all attractive spiritual activities. Therefore, constant association with the spiritual activities of the Lord gradually spiritualizes the conditioned soul and ultimately severs the knot of material bondage. Liberation from material bondage is therefore a byproduct of devotional service. So now we are doing bhakti, but other ways are there. It says here, you may do karma. Karma means your duty in varnashram. But if you do it for Krishna, gradually you will also get perfection. But it will take time. And Gyan, some people think of the Supreme and try to meditate and get that knowledge of his relation with the Supreme. That also brings you to the point. But ultimately, bhakti has to predominate. The karma, that means that tendency to do the work, karma, that is karma. Karma yoga means I do my work for Krishna. But if we come to the point that I'm doing my work for Krishna, but ultimately I'm just serving Krishna. I don't care about my work, which is what happened to Arjun. Because Krishna initially told Arjun, just do your duty. Do your duty. Niyatam kuru karma tvam. Just do your duty in varnashram. But after some time, he said, listen, just do what I say. If I say do your duty, do. If I say don't do it. Do your duty, not because it's your duty, but because this is what I am saying. That is the higher principle. So that is, karma can liberate if bhakti predominates. And then here it says even for gyan. Gyan means I got knowledge, but I have to act on that knowledge. Finally, if I just simply know God is supreme, I'm a servant, that's not enough. I have to begin to act. That's why Prabhupada says devotional service. That action has to happen. And so it says here that predominate. Karma overcoated with devotional service is called karma yoga. But pure bhakti is independent of such karma and gyan. It alone can give liberation. We can come to the point of liberation, but not finally we will get liberated only if we do bhakti. Pure bhakti, shuddha bhakti, overcoated. So that is, and so it says here, any sensible man who's above the average man with poor fund of knowledge must constantly remember the personality of Godhead by hearing about Him, by glorifying Him, by remembering, etc. And this is the only way. Vishnum vina mrityum na taranti. Without Vishnu, we cannot conquer the birth and death. Cannot conquer death. Mrityum na taranti. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Jiva Goswami and Gopal Bhatt Goswami, on the altar we can see them. It says here that they preached, they were authorized by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach the bhakti cult rigidly. They preached bhakti and made immense literatures of transcendental science for our benefit. They have chalked out ways for all classes of men in terms of caste and orders of life in pursuance of Srimad Bhagavatam to attain perfection. So following in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis, we have to study these literatures and perform devotional service according to them. Rupa Raghunath Hoibe Akuti. And we'll understand the Jugala Pariti, Radha Krishna, by following the teachings of the Goswami. Here it says the Goswamis have chalked out. But that is Srila Prabhupada's books also synthesize all their teachings. If you read Prabhupada's books, we have. But Prabhupada did say to read their books. Once we absorb Prabhupada's message, not sooner than that, then we can also access that knowledge. Hare Krishna. Any question?
So about karma yoga and jnana yoga, oftentimes many people who have not maybe gone through the as it is Bhagavad Gita, they say that karma yoga and jnana yoga can independently liberate. And but here we understand that no, ultimately this karma yoga is karma quoted by bhakti, jnana over quoted by bhakti, then it's karma yoga, jnana yoga. So how to in few words convey to some, that this message that yes, it has to be over quoted by bhakti, and also it has to ultimately come to point of pure devotional service. Because especially speaking to one person, he seems to not at all accept this point. Bhakti has to be there, that element of bhakti has to be there. Because directly it is difficult to find in Bhagavad Gita.
I recall some purport of Prabhupada where he said, we are saying there are different class of transcendentalists. Jnanis, yogis and bhaktas. But Prabhupada says factually the other two are not transcendental because they have desire. The jnani has a desire to become free from the cycle of birth and death, jnani. And the yogi, siddhi. But if that yogi reaches the point, he wants to attain some siddhi, but he in the course of practicing comes to the point that I just worship the Supreme, I'm attracted to him, and leaves other things, then he becomes a bhakta. And a jnani also. Jnani, they become bhaktas. That example is given that Chaturvidha Bhajantemam. So one of them is the jnani, jnani cha bharatarshava. So that jnani is not like these other jnanis who got stuck on that level. But he came to jnana, and by that jnana he understood that I have to attain the Supreme and he's the object worshipable. So then he is higher than them. He comes. So what you have to explain them is that the yogi and jnani still have desires. So how can that be pure? They have desire, but the yogi wants to attain some siddhi and come beyond the limitation of the material sphere through his asanas, and they'll be able to travel and attain the ashta siddhi. And the jnani wants to come out of cycle of birth and death. They mostly study the Upanishads. Upanishads make a distinction: what is the matter, what is spirit, and how to come out. So that cannot be pure. So it's at a lower level automatically. If someone is serving without desire, that is a higher level. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakale ashant. Krishna bhakta nishkam ataiva shant. The bhukti is the sense enjoyer, the karmi. Bhukti, mukti jnani, desiring mukti, siddhi, the yogis. Mukti, siddhi, kami. Those who desire these things, siddhi, mukti, and all these things, they are not peaceful. But Krishna bhakta nishkam, he doesn't have any desire, he's peaceful.
I have two more questions.
Yeah.
First of all, about this, when we are quoting maybe Acharya's literatures like this, Siddhi, Kami, Shakala, Asana, then it may often be difficult to deal with the Mayavadis who don't accept. They will just say, no, these are not bona fide shastras, these are written recently by teachers.
They accept Bhagavad Gita. Based on Bhagavad Gita, there are so many verses.
So this point of mukti, desire for mukti not being spiritual, ultimately it will also be binding. These points are explained by our acharyas, but directly this quote coming in Shastra, how can we explain? Because they will accept that no.
On basis of Bhagavad Gita. No, on basis of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, when we are discussing, you have to discuss on Shruti. They will not accept Smriti. There Madhvacharya wrote Rig Bhashya. From the Rig Veda, he established supremacy of Vaishnava Siddhanta.
So it is there that this desire for mukti is also binding. This point, because Mayavadis won't accept.
But you can, in another way, here Bhagavad Gita says, Bhaktiya mam abhijanati. Only through bhakti you can know me. Yeah, that's Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is highest, but they're not accepting it. Yarvindakshara Pramani Vishuddha Buddha Patantyada Tata Param Padam Na Druta Yushmadangraya. And then so Jiva Goswami separately wrote in the Sandarbhas as how Bhagavatam is superior. Once we establish that, then we can. But otherwise, we have to argue on Shruti, including Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.